David J. Maloney. This week, David talks with legendary singer, songwriter, and producer Al Kooper. And now, here's your host, David J. Maloney.
Welcome to everyone at home, and I would normally say our studio audience to the weekly show. I'm your host, David J. Maloney. I say normally, as we would usually shoot the show before a small studio audience at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. But as you can see, we are still in the last few weeks of shooting from home due to coronavirus concerns. We should be back to shooting live to tape shows in the studio fairly soon. Tonight, I am going to skip my weekly monologue again and go straight to reintroducing our featured guest. Because like I said last week, his career is so storied and incredible that his introduction leaves no time for jokes. Tonight's guest is back with us for the second half of our interview we started last week. He's a legendary singer, songwriter, producer, and musician. He's worked and performed with Bob Dylan, the Rolling Stones, George Harrison, The Who, Jimi Hendrix, Alice Cooper, and Cream, just to name a few. He played the iconic organ track on Bob Dylan's Like a Rolling Stone. He later essentially created the jazz pop genre as the organizer and initial lead singer for the band Blood, Sweat and Tears. After that, he discovered Lynyrd Skynrd and produced their first 3 albums, which included the songs Sweet Home Alabama and, yes, Freebird. He subsequently performed and arranged tracks on 3 George Harrison songs, including the hit song All Those Years Ago. He's produced records for or played with B.B. King, The Tubes, and numerous others. He's been referred to as the Zelig and the Forrest Gump of rock because of how many legendary rock songs he's had some sort of influence on. I kind of see him as the Kevin Bacon of modern music, as there's likely fewer than 7 degrees of separation between him and almost every major event in music history in the last 50 years. I'm so very excited to say that we have the incomparable Al Kooper on the show with us tonight, so don't go anywhere, and we will be right back. You were telling me a few weeks ago that when you produce, you essentially listen for what's missing and put it in. When you hear music, do you constantly find yourself hearing things that you would have added or produced differently? And does that impact the way that you enjoy music, personally?
No, it's the other way around. I hear stuff I wouldn't have thought of. And I go, this is fabulous. You know, that's what really gets me. Like, one of the things that was Sly and the Family Stone. And it had horns, and it had great songwriting, it had amazing singing, and that's why I liked it so much. And that was a great example of, you know, of what got to me. And they really did get to me. And I got to meet them and everything, and I saw them a lot because we both recorded at the same recording studio.
Is there an artist or band you always wanted to work with but never got to?
Good question. Well, I would have liked to work with Amy Winehouse or Donny Hathaway or Sly Stone, but you know that didn't happen, and so, you know, I'd probably climb out of the house if I found someone.
Now, on the flip side of that, is there an artist or band that you had always wanted to work with and then got to work with? And did that experience live up to your expectations?
Well, that would be Lynyrd Skynrd.
So you discover and produce the first 3 albums.
Yes.
And I know you, like you said, you've told the story a lot, but our local audience, I mean, this show airs largely in Alabama. And so Sweet Home Alabama, every time that comes on, everybody goes nuts. What were your first impressions of Sweet Home Alabama and Freebird when you heard them? And what changes, if any, did you make to those songs that improved them from when you first heard them? Or did they not need much?
Well, in Sweet Home Alabama, when he says, well, I heard Mr. Young sing about her, I overdubbed myself imitating Neil Young singing Southern Man. And I put it in the background so you could barely hear it. Did you ever hear it?
Now I'm going to listen for it. And
Oh, okay. Well, so you didn't hear it.
I didn't. It's got to be. I'm presuming it's subtle. But the thing is now I'm going to definitely. I'm going to have to, as soon as we're done with this, I'm going to have to go back and play it and listen for it specifically.
So is everybody else that listens to this.
That's awesome. That's fantastic.
So that's one thing. Ronnie Van Zant called me on the phone. At this point, I was living in Atlanta. And I'd gone to, there was a club that I went to. I can't remember the name of the club. But I used to go every night because they were closed on Mondays. And I went every night and looking for bands or singers or, because that's what I was going to do now. I started my own label. And about the fourth week, I went to the club because a band would play 6 nights at the club. And then Mondays, the club was closed. So I saw probably 4 bands play. And then Skynyrd came in. And I had 6 nights of it. By the 3rd night, I went and started talking to them. And their manager was with them, which was very good for me. And I said, well, I just started a label and MCA is distributing it. And I would love to sign this band. This band is great. And then the 4th night, I went up and they didn't have a keyboard player at the time. So there was no keyboard, but I played guitar. And I said, what are we doing? I put the guitar on, plugged it in, made sure it was working. I said, what song are we doing? He said, Mean Woman Blues in C#.
He's trying to trick you.
Huh?
He was giving you, that's C#. He was having fun with you.
He was trying to show me up. And I laughed. I thought he thinks I can't play in C#. That's great. I admired that. That's it. I thought, what a great trick. But I don't know. That's a good trick. Because Mean Woman Blues is not hard. It's blues. It's not any chords you wouldn't know. So when he said that to me, I was just putting the guitar on and I laughed. I totally got it instantly. Mean Woman Blues in C#. It really made me laugh. And so I played it and took a solo and then I got off the stage because I wanted to hear more of what they did. And but I'll never forget that because it was very funny.
You know what? I recall there being a story, and I don't know if it's true or not, about you, maybe it was in a recording session with Lynyrd Skynrd where John Lennon may have walked in?
Yes.
What was the story there?
That was really funny. That was a record plant LA, which was, in my humble opinion, in the top 5 of studios in Los Angeles. And I worked there exclusively until I couldn't. And so I was always there. And so was John Lennon and a lot of people. And John Lennon used to have like a party once a week that wasn't advertised. And so mostly people from the studio would be there. And we just have fun. So he came in to ask me a question. I don't remember what it was. And they were out in the studio. He came into the control room. So they saw him. So Ronnie Van Zant said, "Was that John Lennon that was just here?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "We need to take a break."
So they missed him. Did it like ruin the day for them? Like at that point where they like
no, it amazed them.
Hmm?
It amazed them. They never thought they'd be that close to a Beatle. They never thought that would happen to them.
I finally got to see you play live in New York City in 2014. And
Where did I play? BB King's?
Yeah, BB King's. It was the birthday celebration thing you were doing there. And you know, you did the meet and greet after, and we briefly met after. And I brought my son, who at that time was 7 and already a drummer. And he just loved you. When you see new generations of people discovering and enjoying your music, how does that make you feel?
Amazed. Amazed. But people that are younger that know who I am amazes me. I'm for old fuddy-duddies now. I belong to old fuddy-duddies now.
I had Livingston Taylor on the show a few weeks ago, and we had an interesting conversation about how record labels and producers are kind of the gatekeepers. And his opinion was that the gatekeepers kind of help become a standard setting mechanism that elevates the art. Whereas some people feel that producers and so on and so forth. I mean, if you remember, like when Prince wrote "Slave" on his face, they have an opposite feeling. And nowadays you got the internet, which in my opinion kind of has increased the acceptance of mediocrity in current music. You know what I mean? Do you have any opinions on that at all? Having worked on both sides of the glass?
Well, the thing I know is, you know, when I put on the radio, I go, well, this music is not for me. And when I think that, I think it's not for me because I'm 77. They're not making music, you know, they're not imitating Sly and the Family Stone. They're doing something else.
Is there a song that you did or an incident that you were involved in or a moment that you influenced in music or otherwise that you look back and you go, I am so either happy or proud that I did that as you look back on your career?
I mean, there's like a Rolling Stone.
Yeah.
Which I'm most famous for. And it's such a funny story that, you know, it works for me. And also that, you know, that was the key to the start of my career. So that, you know, I can't deny that. And I can't change it. Not that I would want to. And that's what it is.
And that is an incredible story. And I know you've told it a million times, so I'm not going to ask you to tell it again. But I do know that it's in your book, your autobiography, Backstage Passes and Backstabbing Bastards. Let's talk about Koopercast, also with a K.
That's on the website. That's where that came from.
So tell our viewers what it's all about, how people can find and enjoy the podcast. Is that something you find on the website itself, or?
Yes. I'll tell you a funny story, which I pray you will keep in this interview. About 5 years ago, I was invited to speak at MIT. And I live in Boston now, so, you know, it's a cab ride. And plus, I was really honored. That's MIT. And I couldn't imagine why they did that, because it's not known for music or anything. But I wanted to see MIT, so I accepted. And it was the idea, when I spoke at MIT, when I finished, some guy came up to me and said, I would like to fix your website if you would allow me to. And I thought, I can't turn this down. If it's bad, I'll shut it down. If it's good, wouldn't that be fabulous? And he went in and he made it beautiful.
Oh, no, it is really, the new website is really nice. And by the way, I do remember the old website. Because I would check it periodically, because to be frank, catching you live was kind of a bucket list item for me. So but the problem was I was living in the South. So I was always looking for where your tour might be when I might have to go back up to New York, where I grew up, and see if I could catch you when I was there. And it was by fluke, actually, that I got to see in 2014. I just happened to be in New York City at the same time. And I just happened to be in a car driving by the day before. And I saw on the marquee Al Kooper's birthday celebration. And I turned to my wife and I said, I think we're going to go see a Broadway play. I said, we're not doing that. We're now going there and we're going to go do this.
You're lucky you could get tickets.
We were on the far side of the stage, way in a corner. So basically, I saw your back, but I was able to see the keyboards. And that was pretty much, I was able to see the back of the organ. That was pretty much it. But we did get to see it and enjoyed it, immensely. But I remember the old website. So, and I agree, the new website is way better.
Well, he did a wonderful job, and he's become a close friend, and he's as weird and funny as I am, and as old. So it's a wonderful relationship, and he does all these other things too. So I only get to see him when we're working on Koopercast. And I'm working on a project now of 4 CD set of all the things I did, pieces of all the things I did in my career, as many of them unreleased as I can conjure up. And do you know the label Omnivore?
No, I'm unfamiliar.
They're out of New York, and they put out records like that. This is going to be a weird thing, but I met with them 2 or 3 years ago, and they came from Los Angeles and sat in my house here in Boston, and I played them 193 songs in the 2 days. And they were pretty much sold. It just laid around for a few years. And then I said, I really want to put this out. I mean, now that I am so much older, and I can't go out and play gigs, and I can't travel, and I can't drive. I said, now is the time to put this out, because I have no other albums to make. And this is 4 CDs of all this stuff that's laying in the house that people might enjoy. Now, I've been working on it for 7 or 8 months now. And I'm still going through stuff in the house, making sure I don't miss anything. And I'm very excited about it. I don't have a title yet. I mean, originally I was going to call it unreleased, but some of it might have been released but not heard. I wanted to put, I'm opening it with 4 versions of This Diamond Ring, because that was
The start.
the start for me. And one is a demo that I made when I was writing with the 2 other guys, because the 3 of us wrote that song. And there was a studio singer who also was a songwriter, and he worked at the same place we did. And so I would hire him sometimes to sing our demo, because otherwise it was the 3 of us singing, which was not anything like this guy singing. His name was Jimmy Radcliffe. He's deceased now. And he actually had a single produced by Backrack that came out in his lifetime. It wasn't a hit, but it was a great record, and he was a great singer. And I had all my demos that were sort of R&B-ish. He would sing them. And so this was some of the stuff I pulled up. And so I had the original demo of This Diamond Ring, which was nothing like the Gary Lewis record. It was a black record. That song was written for the Drifters. And the demo that we made was to play for the Drifters. So it's really humorous that Gary Lewis did it. So other people recorded it using the Jimmy Radcliffe demo as, you know, what made them record it. So there were 2 records, 2 singles of it out. So I started the box set with Jimmy Radcliffe's demo. And then the 2 black versions that came out. And then the Gary Lewis record, which is hilarious after you hear the black records. It's humorous. And then, you know, you tell anybody that doesn't know, this was a #1 record, this Gary Lewis record. And, you know, and it changed my life in many ways. But did I like it? Nah, not after the demo.
So you have all these lost and found, basically, tracks that you'll be.
I have close to everything I ever did on the computer.
Well, there's your title, Lost and Found. Al, thank you so much for being on the show. It has been an absolute pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, Al Kooper.
Thank you very much for giving me the chance to yak so much.
That is our show for tonight. Thanks to Al Kooper for joining us again, and a very special thank you to our viewers for watching.